right, we're now joined by Trevor from Black Dahlia Murder. How are you today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me aboard today.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. I know the new album is killer. Abysmal's gearing up, and I know you guys are catching your breath, getting ready to get out there and slay them on the road.
That's about right, man. Thanks for the kind words on the new record, man. I'm pretty excited myself, I got to say.
Yeah, well, take us back before we get into that a little bit. I know you guys have been around since the early 2000s, about 2001, you and Brian, and, you know, it's been a long road, but, you know, you've put together the tightest unit you have, and I know it's always an evolution as far as getting better as a, you know, a songwriter and a recording artist, and certainly finding your legs, you know, out there on the road, you know, dealing with everything. Talk about that evolution, you know, when you guys got together back in Michigan, kind of what your goals were and, you know, how you put it all together.
Well, I mean, I feel like we have the same initial statement as we set out with, you know, like that we're a black, death, and thrash, like a melting pot of those sounds. You know, but I just feel like there has a lot of wisdom has come with our years, you know. When we were first starting out, all we wanted to do was just be able to leave the state, you know, and just have someone want to see us play. And you know, all I wanted was to get one record out, you know. That was my dream, was to have one real album I could just, like, show to my friends and show to my mom. And I think it's gone a little farther than that, man. It's pretty awesome, I got to say.
Well, that's great stuff. I know, you know, you've seen the industry go through so many changes in the last 15 years, and, you know, I know the concentration is definitely more on, you know, the live shows and the merch and really getting out to people. But, you know, coming up, who were some of your heroes? I know Carcass was a big influence on you, but, you know, you guys have also combined a lot of punk and hardcore influences. So who really inspires you, you know, over the years?
I gotta say, Dave Mustaine was probably my biggest hero as a kid. I loved Megadeth. They were like my first metal love that basically just drew me in. But I also really liked Black Flag a lot and Rollins, and that really got me interested in the idea of going out on tour and kind of like the DIY aspect of touring and stuff. And somehow reading the book Get in the Van, which is basically just Rollins complaining about how much tour sucks, somehow that made me want to go on tour really bad. I don't know. But what else? The Big Four basically were huge for me when I was a kid, you know, and Sepultura and Pantera as well. And around 1995 is when I first started getting into like heavier stuff like death metal, and you know, obviously Carcass is one of my favorite bands. I have a tattoo of theirs on my arm, and Suffocation was another one of my first death metal records. That was awesome. Pearson Within in 1995. And, yeah, man, I mean, a lot of, you know, we're not rich by any means. We make enough to scrape by and stay on tour and stuff. You know, I don't really have any money in the bank per se or anything like that. But, I mean, getting to meet bands that, like, I worship as a kid and, like, maybe being considered their peer, you know, is, like, beyond any kind of monetary measure for me. You know, it's, like, the coolest thing possible.
Well, I always say you're a rich person if you can do what you love, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people with money in the bank that hate their life, you know.
Right. And I definitely do love my life. I have, you know, I was that kind of quiet, introverted nerd, you know, that just kind of sailed through high school without anybody noticing. You know, and now, like, I'm coming into my own out here, you know, like, I love the metal scene. I love being involved in it all the time, and I still buy tons of records and check out new bands, and I don't know, man, it still, like, fills my sails, you know?
Well, it must feel great to see somebody, you know, you went to school with, they thought you were going to do nothing, and you're out there touring the world and pleasing a lot of people.
It's crazy because, like, a lot of my peers from school have kids now, you know, and, like, they've had them for a long time. They have a lot of kids. And I just basically stopped developing mentally at about 15, I think, so.
I know. Anything over 18, man, is a waste. You know, you see people in their 20s that look like they're 50 once they get married and they got kids and they're tied to a day job they hate.
Yeah, you know, I'm definitely glad that my life has gone the way it has, and, you know, it's cool that my dad, like, pulled me aside, was like, you know, I'm really proud that you are using your smarts for your own good, and you get to make your own, create your own art and everything like that with your creative mind, and not just like use it for some bullshit company, So
Sure.
that was a nice compliment,
Well, I know you're stepping up. Last 5 albums been in the Billboard 200. I know this one's going to be there too. And I know you're also saying that with punk and hardcore, it's more of a community, and a lot of ways in the metal world, it's very competitive. What do you mean by that?
It's just I just think I don't know. There could be more kind of unity on a real DIY level of that you see in punk and hardcore, like basement kind of tours and stuff like that. There's a lot of small underground death metal bands that need to get out there, that need to tour, that deserve to be heard and stuff. And just I think a stronger network of at a DIY level would be bigger. So that is something that when I say that death metal could learn something from hardcore, like that's what I had in mind, was just the camaraderie you would see I would see in the early days of going to hardcore shows, and like just labels helping each other, everybody's helping each other. Just it was cool. And with death metal, I don't know. Like I just don't see that kind of. I don't know. Like at the shows, it's still the same kind of vibe. You want the same thing. People are coming out to be entertained and forget their problems and have a good time. But I don't know. Just with metal, it's just I don't know. It's just different. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's the community aspect of punk or hardcore. It's good for the whole scene. People aren't worried about each other so much. They help each other, and let their music do this, the talking. They don't have to, try and sabotage, their other acts on the bill.
Right. I mean, that's kind of the thing. It's a interesting world of trying to like assemble tours and stuff because of all the egos. Each band has their own ego and pride level for making their own music and stuff, and have a strict code of what they think they deserve and everything. And it's just not. It's just hard. It's hard to assemble tours. It's hard to agree all the time. And, just like someone on the outside, a kid or something, might be like, why don't you just call this band up and go on tour with them? I wish it were that easy. I really do.
Yeah, well, I know you guys have been on some incredible European tours, Montmartre, and so many of the great festivals and stuff over there. And I know in America we're still trying to grow some more festivals, and seems like a lot of politics and authorities getting away. But I know we're hanging with you on the last Warped Tour, and you guys did the Mayhem back in '09. What is it like to be on those tours like that in America when the kids are into a lot of different kind of music, but there's a good chance that more and more are going to go home knowing about you.
Yeah, I mean, that was basically the impetus of going on the Warped Tour. It's a different kind of scene from what we usually do, but we realized we'd be reaching a lot of young kids that maybe didn't know about the band or maybe just heard the band's name and, were curious. So, that was sheerly just an attempt to grab new fans and make a new awareness, But you go on Mayhem, is more like playing to the converted, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be a strictly metal crowd. But it was awesome, man. Mayhem was probably the most fun summer I ever had, man. It was amazing, just see that many people. Every day you're playing in front of thousands of people. It was just an awesome opportunity, and it really, I think, was instrumental in our growth at the time. It was right around the Deflorate record.
Sure.
Before that came out. And, it was just really huge for us. I remember thinking the first day, like, seeing the reaction of the crowd and being like, is this what it's going to be like every day?
Well, I can speak on that because I was in the photo pit shooting you guys on the first day in San Bernardino on that tour. So you guys were shot out of a cannon, and I can confess, man, the energy was through the roof. And, I know every day after that was just amazing.
Yeah, man, it was, dude. And that was really just, I don't know, man. It was just a killer summer. It was the perfect lineup, I think, having Cannibal Corpse, Behemoth, Job for a Cowboy, Whitechapel. Pretty much we were all on one stage, man, and there was still a lot of other great stuff. Slayer, of course, and
yep.
Yeah, it was just a huge summer for us, man. So, I feel like there is a necessity for those kind of outdoor touring festivals, and I think that I hope that we can get like a decent one back together,
Yeah, I mean it's a shame seeing what happened to Mayhem this year. You know, for whatever reason, it just was not pulling the crowd, and you know, I know the organizers try and keep the tickets, you know, down low, and a lot of people don't have a lot of extra money, so you start adding bigger headliners. All of a sudden, the ticket doubles and triples, and I know they try to avoid that.
That's kind of one of the things I was touching on earlier. You know, the egos. Like some people just need to like realize that, you know, if you don't take as much money, you can help the whole, and you can have a better package for everybody. You know what I mean? You can only charge so much for a ticket, you know what I mean? Before it's just like, you know, fuck this. So it gets complicated.
Well, it's a platform to jump off from. So like you say, you take a little less on the tour, but now you can go out and do your own headlining tour after that, or reach more fans and get on, other tours where you can, you know, shine for a longer set.
Right. You got to just kind of look at it in different ways, you know, like that one, like the opportunity to play in front of new people should be the clincher for you, you know what I mean? So
yeah, well, hopefully something, you know, raises up, because, you know, I know it's difficult to put on those traveling festivals. It's hard enough to put it on in one city, but to box that up and take it to a new city every day, I know is immensely challenging.
Oh yeah, that's a huge undertaking, you know, and like I won't be surprised if something comes of Slipknot's festival. Like maybe they'll try to do something with that.
Yeah,
seems to be like really, really growing astronomically in its size, and also we played it, and it was a lot of fun. They treated the bands really good, so yeah, maybe they'll try to like do something. Who knows?
Well, that's awesome. Now I know obviously you've traveled around the world. This music has taken you all sorts of different places, different languages, different cultures. You know, talk about any of the craziest pits or just the most insane situations you've seen yourself or the band in. You know, I don't know if there's some dangerous spots where you didn't know if you were going to get out of them or what, but just talk about like the craziest stuff you've seen.
I mean, we haven't really been near death too many times. There was a time that we were spinning around in our van and our trailer flipped over and stuff. But as far as like show situations and maybe being in scary towns or anything like that, I mean, we've been to Colombia. We've, you know, been where they have machine guns out on the street, you know, like everywhere you go. And, you know, it's intimidating, but nothing really popped off anywhere that we went, you know what I mean?
Well, how about the craziest pits? What's the craziest?
The craziest pits? I mean, probably in Russia, man. Like, we played the show in Poland one time where they were so excited to see us that they basically picked up the entire band and, like, held us in the air, except for the drummer, like, for the duration of the set. Like, I was held up like we won the giant soccer game or something. You know what I mean? Like I had to put my hands on the ceiling to stop them from like smashing me into the ceiling, because it was just like a small kind of bar. You know, we were literally just playing on the ground in front of these people.
Right.
But it was just a frenzy, man. You know, we hadn't been out there before on our own. Just like we passed through on festivals and stuff, but it was our first like close and personal encounter with the Polish people, and man, that was like the coolest thing. I'll never forget that show.
So obviously no barrier between you and the fans. It was all kind of one.
Right, and you know, that's the way really I prefer it. I don't like when there's a big barrier. So, you know, a festival is kind of a bummer in that regard, but there is something to be said about when you can like rally that many people to like be into what you're doing, you know. So it is cool to look off the stage at a festival and see so many hands in the air and so many people like responding, and so they're both cool in their own aspects, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I know with the new album Abysmal, it's produced by Mark Lewis and your ex-bassist Ryan Williams. I know you were going after a more raw, natural sounding, you know, flesh the songs out some more. What to you are you most proud of, you know, achieving with this new step?
I just think it's a more timeless sound. I think that we kind of dodged the trend that everybody seems to be falling victim to, that we did for a long time as well, which was just over Pro Toolsing everything, you know, fixing the drums so they sound perfect, so it sounds like a goddamn robot is playing them, and, you know, replacing the drum hits with better sounding ones, and just, you know, stuff that's like standard Pro Tools practices, basically. But for death metal, I think it just sucks the life out of it. So, you know, going back to a more raw approach and keeping the drums live and real, just like we did on the first record, just restored this energy that we didn't know how to, like, tap. It was like some X factor we couldn't figure out, you know. So it just, I think it sounds really natural. Sounds like us, like when we're playing and just listening to the band in person. And I think it's way more emotive, and it just has more urgency to it. So I think, yeah, it was just a learning experience, and definitely going to be a permanent change for us.
Yeah, well, when you think about all your classic records, you know, your bands, your you know, most powerful records you ever learned, you know, growing up, they did that without technology, without Pro Tools, without computers. And I think, you know, with technology, there's a danger, and you know, utilizing them to cut corners, to cut costs or whatever. And like you say, you know, rock and roll should never be perfect. It should not be, the corners shouldn't be rounded off. You know, when you talk about a Black Flag or any of those early records that you grew up on, I mean, Carcass, these were not computer-made records.
Yeah, and that was the realization that we had, was like, why are these old records so much better? Like, why is everything before the year 2000 sound so awesome? You know, it was just realizing that the old way was the right way, and that taking a step backwards was the right decision. You know, I think it was just too easy. It became too easy to sound replace the drums and just quantize everything and fix the kicks and, you know, doctor everything up. It was just easier to do that. And I don't know, we just all fell into the trap, I guess, you know, for a while. So I'm hoping that more bands will follow our lead, and Cannibal Corpse and Behemoth's lead of going in a more raw direction, and, you know, hopefully we'll see a changing of the tide, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, the new songs, Vlad, Son of Dragon, Receipt, Threat Level Number 3, I mean, again, raw, amazing, you know, you really feel that the band's right there in the room. I mean, what songs are you most proud of on this record?
I definitely love Receipt a lot. I think it, like, just embodies the best of what we do, and I think it's a really strong opener. I like the third track in the album. It's the title track, Abysmal. It's not by the fastest or most extreme by any means, but it has a real kind of somber vibe to it, and I think it just, I don't know, it's just a really great, powerful song, man, and I'm excited about playing that. Really, all the stuff, man. I mean, I really like the group of songs, and, you know, every 2 years when we come back to do this, the guys really surprise me with what they're able to come up with, you know, and I'm genuinely excited to be a part of it, and just, I try my best to keep up, you know.
Yeah. Well, you're doing a great job, and I know it's so important for, you know, the next generation to step up and grow some headliners and, you know, plant the seeds for the next generation. I mean, I know the business is constantly changing, but what advice do you give to the young bands or young musicians today, you know, just to let them know the kind of dedication or perseverance or sacrifice it takes, you know, to be in this business?
Man, just, if you want to do this, you just have to commit, and you have to be able to say goodbye to your normal life. You know what I mean? If you're going to go full time, and, you know, my whole life revolves around touring in this band, and you know, just don't half-ass it, man. If you really want to do it, you know, go for it, and take the risk, make the jump.
Well, Trevor, it's a real pleasure. We're going to spread the word on Abysmal. Great new album. Can't wait to see you out on tour. Thank you so much for all the great years of music, and we look forward to many more.
Dude, thanks for all the kind words, man. I appreciate it much, and the press as well.